Second and 11.
Hey, easy now. Rambo! 59! Get on the ball! Get on the ball! Rambo!
Welcome to PlayCallers podcast, discussing current sports news and headlines, behind the scenes of athletics, life after sports. We talk about all the stuff of sports world. Anything goes. Are you guys ready?
We're ready.
I'm going to introduce our PlayCallers panel. We have former NFL coach Kirk Broussard, former CFL scout and pro coach Chris Williams, and myself, Tracy Lynn. Hi, guys. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Tracy?
Doing good. Well, guys, you can definitely catch every episode and what is going on with PlayCallers podcast, because you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and wherever your podcast platforms you choose to listen to us. But as of right now, we are going to bring you all the goods. So you know what? Enough of me talking. It's all about the coaches here, because we want to hear from them. Let's start it. Are you guys ready?
Ready to go.
Okay, let's talk about some college football. I want you, Coach Broussard, why don't you tell me what your thoughts are so far this season?
You know, I have a lot of mixed emotions. On one hand, I'm thrilled that we actually have football. That's the first thing. I think a lot of the players looked a little bit out of sync as far as like the flow of the game, some of the offenses. Typically in football, the defenses are always ahead of the offenses in the early stages. So, you saw a lot of rust that needs to get knocked off. But overall, I think everybody's just thrilled that we have football. It is a little awkward to see games without fans in the stands. I mean, to not have the reaction, the roar of the crowd, that kind of, that motivates you as a player, to play. So, other than that, man, I think as things, we're going to get used to this at some point. As we continue with it, we're going to kind of get used to it, oddly enough to say. But I think I'm just really thrilled to see, the SEC, the ACC. We had some shockers, in college football, where some lower level unexpected teams upset some, major Division I powerhouses. So we got a lot to talk about. I'll say that.
We definitely do. Talk about the most important part, because, I like predictions. I like to put money down on things, or just have some friendly bets. Let's talk about what your predictions are, Coach Broussard. Who do you think's going to do this season?
Throughout the preseason, kind of analyzing the teams as far as who has what coming back from last year, returning starters, big play, Heisman Trophy candidates, who has those difference makers on their team, as well as, obviously coaching plays in the factor that I've said at the top of the season, obviously Clemson has a lot coming back, especially the quarterback. So I would definitely put Clemson in that top four as far as my playoff prediction. From the SEC, I think we're gonna get two SEC teams in the college football playoff. And I think you're looking at the SEC East winner, and I think that's going to be Florida. I think Florida's going to beat Georgia this year and get over the hump. And so I think you're going to have a Florida, Alabama SEC championship game with both of those teams getting in the college football playoff. And then that fourth team is that's going to be a tough one. I mean, North Carolina looked really, really good, but I can't see two ACC teams getting in the playoffs. And I know the Big Ten has been meeting about if they're going to have a season. So I think they're going to have a late season, like a modified season. And I'm not sure. I think people are going to want to see that Big Ten champion in the college football playoff. So obviously that's probably going to be Ohio State. So I think you could be looking at Alabama, Ohio State. It's pretty much going to be the same four as last year, with the exception of Florida will be that fourth team. So it's three of the same four from last year with Florida. So Florida just replaces LSU pretty much. Actually, so Alabama wasn't in last year. So we'll put Alabama back in. We'll bring in Florida, and then you got Ohio State and you got Clemson. And that's my final four prediction. If the Big Ten plays a season.
Yeah, we should know in less than a month, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
really
the deadline like beginning of October?
Yeah, really soon. So,
Okay, Coach, tell me who your breakout players are for college football this season so far.
I'm biased. We haven't seen him play yet, but I think the world is going to be shocked when they see Kyle Trask from the University of Florida. He's kind of a dark horse Heisman Trophy candidate. A lot of people aren't really talking about him, but he actually, in a shortened amount of games, he actually led the SEC in passing yardage as far as the returning starters that are returning to the SEC. So I think Kyle Trask. I think from Alabama, you're going to see a breakout season from their quarterback. I believe his name is Mac Jones. A lot of people really hadn't seen what he can do, but I think he's going to shock some people. I liked him out of high school, so I think that Alabama quarterback is really going to lead them back to where they normally are. I know they kind of fell off last year and didn't make a big time bowl game like they normally do. So I would definitely say those would be two of my favorites that you're gonna really see break out.
Okay.
Besides that, someone breaking out that we really haven't seen, that probably be a freshman. It's probably going to be one of the blue chip freshmen. And there's a kid that really caught my attention from Clemson, defensive lineman. His name is Breeze, and he was the number one player in the nation. Not this past recruiting cycle, but the cycle before. He's starting for Clemson. I just watched him making a lot of plays, and I think that's gonna be a name that you're gonna hear about. And I project probably in the next 2 years, he potentially is probably gonna be a top 5 pick. I mean, he's that much of a difference maker on the defensive line.
Coach Williams, tell me, what are your thoughts with no fans in the stands? We've talked, we heard the noises being pumped through, but when you look, there was no one there. Do you think that this is a good thing, or should they maybe just dump it and forget about this idea? What are your thoughts on this? No fans in the stands and this artificial noise that's happening.
No, dumping the artificial noise would definitely be, get my vote. I mean, I don't feel like that serves any purpose at all. But as far as not having any fans, I mean, I don't necessarily know that fans have ever had a chance to see how important they are to the sports world. I mean, they're at the games and they're thinking that maybe in some cases they don't think that anyone hears them or are paying attention, but they are they're the energy that makes things go when it comes to the players and the feeling of the moments in the game. So, without them there, I mean, it's absolutely, it's a tough thing to watch, and I can only imagine what it's like for a player to get himself really going, especially at the tough parts of the game.
It was great to on Thursday to have that game, to look forward to that. And then we have Sunday football, like all day, all night. And then Monday night, it felt really good. But I will say it was a little odd. And I know some places, some stadiums are allowing a few fans in and some are definitely not. But it was weird to see no fans, but all this noise.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it depends on what state you live in and what the local government, the state allows as far as attendance. So, I've seen some have no fans. I've seen some have 20,000 limit, and they've been spaced out. So, I think a lot of them, some of them were like only friends and family. So it's been all over the place. But I think most people just throw that we have football and no fans in the stand. Like, I'll take that as long as we have a game. As long as we,
you know what, I agree.
Root for our team. Yeah.
Thoughts on no preseason and seeing the guys go right out there playing a game? I mean, from a coach's perspective, they needed that warm up. They needed the meet and greet to see how the players are all going to play together. Difficult. I mean, some of them, you could tell they needed that preseason game.
Yeah. Well, from a coach's perspective, it's difficult evaluation-wise to learn and evaluate what you have, what you're working with. It limits you in that regard. And then I guess, coaches have gotten creative, in practice and, did, I guess, the way they probably set up scrimmages in practice. I'm not sure if they were even allowed to do scrimmages against other teams, because traditionally in the NFL, we'll have about 2 or 3 scrimmages versus other teams that are close in our market. I know, in my time with the Lions, we would always scrimmage the Cleveland Browns, and so I'm not sure if they were able to do that, but from an evaluation standpoint, it's difficult. And then from a player standpoint, it's difficult for those players that are on the bubble, those players that are trying to make a roster that get limited opportunities to show what they can do. And preseason is a prime time where you not only show the team that you're with what you can do, but you're showing other teams what you can do. Because if you're that bubble player, you know, all the teams go back and review that film. So you'll get a phone call from another team if the team that you're with releases you. So not having preseason, it hurt. And definitely, I'm sure it hurt a lot of people. What do you think, Coach?
You know, I look at that from a coaching staff perspective, and you know, the preseason games are always there to help you, you know, get a dry run of how you're going to run the game. You know, how you're going to communicate. You know, being under the gun with the clock being on, and you know, getting into situations and game situations and down and distance situations that you know, that you don't necessarily, you know, that you're not necessarily able to recreate in a practice setup. So, you know, for them to come out, you know, first week and it's hit the ground running and it's full speed right now, that's a tough thing to do. So for, you know, I thought they did a fairly decent job today. You could see some breakdowns here and there, but definitely, you know, missing 4 preseason games at the highest level is definitely going to hurt you.
Yeah. Okay. So what's it like watching a football game with you? What are do you have that coach's curse, or are you pretty easygoing and we're going to have a good time? I don't have to listen to you analyze this game from start to end.
You know, I'm definitely cursed. There's no doubt about that. and I want to watch the game without thinking as a coach. But when I'm looking at it, you know, your eyes are just trained. And I'm not saying that we're the best, most knowledgeable people ever. There are things that we don't know and things that we have to study. But looking at the game is so hard because you see things that you're seeing things that the average eye doesn't see. So when I'm watching it with buddies of mine that have no football background, I mean, they don't like it because, you know, it's tough for me to dumb myself down, so to speak, to talk to them. But and I hate to say it that way, but it's true. And I joke with those guys all the time and tell them, yeah, I really gotta dumb myself down here to enjoy this game with you guys. But it's really tough. I mean, I'm seeing little things. I'm seeing the motions, seeing all the movements. So, you know, when you do it for so long, you're definitely cursed at it, and it's a tough thing to break.
Hey, who has the worst temper out of either one of you when it comes to watching a game and seeing that a player doesn't do what they're supposed to? And it's one of those things where it's very frustrating, and it was such an easy thing to do, an easy play. Who do you think's going to have the worst temper when watching it? No one's answering.
I know Coach Broussard is going to have the worst temper. I mean, I've always been a level, even keel guy. I've seen Coach Broussard jumping around and throwing his paperwork and all that stuff.
He's passionate, right?
Yeah, so I can only imagine what he's like watching the game. But yeah, I'm always even keeled, and even when I'm angry, I try to be under control with it. But definitely,
I just like to put pressure on the refs. I like the refs to do their job. So it depends on the situation. If I'm watching my favorite team, then yeah, it's pretty heated if they make stupid mistakes. If I'm watching a team that I'm coaching, yeah, it's pretty heated if they make crazy mistakes. But other than that, outside of that, you know, I could watch a game and I'm still going to look at it in the coach's eye, but I don't get as upset. I think it's just, you know, over the years, I've kind of was a Steve Spurrier guy. You know, I like to wear the visor, and he throws his stuff, and it just kind of, you know, force a habit, you know, kind of rubbed off on me, you know. So yeah, maybe I overreact sometime, but overall, I think I'm a pretty level-headed guy like Coach, because I always think that, especially being an offensive guy, if a referee takes away, you know, I've always had the philosophy of ball don't lie. So if a referee makes a bad call, I feel like it's going to come back around and we're going to get that call made up some kind of way. And I think my offense is so potent, you know, you could bring every touchdown back and we're going to keep scoring. You know, I got that cocky offensive mentality, you know, when it comes to football. So
that you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. A little banter on Play Callers here. This is good. Maybe one time we'll have to do a live of each one of us watching the game.
That would be good.
That would be amazing. Yeah. That's
maybe
a
little
idea.
uncensored, maybe? Who knows where that's going to end? Well,
2nd and 11.